Good morning. I hope I'm audible. We're gonna just give it a couple of minutes for people to join in. We are already recording. It's fantastic to have everybody here. If everybody, all the attendees can hear me, just before I introduce everyone, before we start, just few house rules. Keep questions ready. The question and answer tab is open. I've disabled the chat just so that it's not distracting for all our panelists and us. But questions are open. You can throw in questions. We'll take them right at the end unless they're relevant. I'll maybe jump. I'll throw them in the middle as well. Fantastic to have people here on time. I know we have multiple others who are going to join in as we move along. So give us a minute and we will get going. Lovely. All right, 10:02. I'm not going to wait any further. I know people are going to jump in. Very, very good morning to everybody. It's a lovely Saturday, and I'm glad everyone's taking the time out to be here with us. And is always good to know people are willing to listen and learn on the weekends as well, and not just take it easy. So we have a fantastic lineup with us. They don't need an introduction, but at the end of the day, I'm going to start with the ladies. We have Taruka Srivastava with us, who's had a varied experience, studied in the UK, worked with brands like Manchester United, worked with the FIFA Under-17 World Cup, which we were part of together. And I'll jump into your journey as we move along. We have Neha Aggarwal Sharma with us, Olympian. It's an honor for you for us to have you here as well. And currently working with OGQ. That's Olympic Gold Quest, helping athletes in our country. And finally, Terry, again, like I mentioned, all three don't need an introduction, but Terry again has played in the FIFA World Cup, played with teams like City and others. Again, it's really an honor to have all three of you, and it's everybody here. This is the first of our career in sports management series. This is episode 1, so it's fantastic to have everybody here. This is Beyond the Field. If you don't know already, all of our panelists are past athletes, former athletes, and currently working in the sports business. I'm Arup Sons. I run Kite Talks, who's a part of organizing this event, and also Global Institute of Sports Business, which is one of the premier institutes in Bombay, in India. And we're glad to bring you this series. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right to it. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Terry, I would love to start with you, but I'm going to start with the ladies instead.
Please do.
So, Neha, this one's for you. Again, being an Olympian, right? It's a very different feeling to represent your country at that level. Tell us a little bit about your experience at Beijing.
Sure. Thanks, Arup. So I come from Delhi, and I'm a Bania. I'm a Marwadi Bania, and when I started playing back in it was 1997, right? I grew up in a very conservative environment. right, where most of my other cousin sisters all married off early on, 18, 19, 20 years old. There was no way somebody who came from my family could even think of, going out in shorts and t-shirts and playing with other boys. And I shared this because I wanted to put into perspective that what it meant for us when I played the Olympics. I had a visionary father who thought differently for his daughter, and table tennis is also a very niche sport, right? You wouldn't go out and play out of all table tennis. It's generally considered a basement sport. People call it ping pong, right? People don't have the awareness of what professional table tennis really looks like. So for me, it was a pretty exceptional experience to play the Olympics. I was only 18 when I qualified, and I also I got over two of our much more experienced and much more favored, actually, senior players to to be at the Olympics. So it was a pretty fantastic experience. I think the opening ceremony, right, where it was the Bird's Nest Stadium, and it's
Amazing.
firstly it's table tennis in China, so it's like cricket in India, right? They're like 10,000 people in the stadium. So, of course, I was nervous, but the opening ceremony was what a wonderful honor and experience to live. Colonel Rajavardhan Singh Rathore was the flag bearer. I was clad in a nice green sari, and when you're with the Tiranga in front of you, you take the march with the entire contingent in the Parade of Nations. It's I pinched myself twice because to me, it was everything coming together, right? As an athlete, there are a lot of sacrifices. Taruka and Terry will also tell you, you lead a very lonely life. There is no social life. You have no friends. You don't go to any birthday parties. All you do is eat, sleep, play, repeat, all that. So, and that is the moment when all of that comes together, and the sacrifices you've been making all those years really comes in. So so that was great. I lost in the first round at the Olympics, and I was really dejected because the girl I lost to, I beat her 2 months back at the World Championship. She was an Australian Chinese. What happened in 2 months? Nothing, right? All of us, both of us were the same athletes, but it was the mind, right? I was not prepared. I can still remember my hands were shaking. I was trembling. I was not prepared to take the pressure that the Olympic Games give to our athletes. Nobody talks about you for 4 years, and then suddenly 2 3 months before the Olympics, the media starts putting all sorts of stories about you. It's hard. It's hard. I have to admit, I succumbed under that pressure, and yeah, it was very, very disappointing. And that was one of the sort of the feelings I took all my entire playing career, that uh, everything was right, but for the Olympics, in that moment, in that situation, probably mentally I was not the best prepared. So it was a bittersweet experience.
Thanks for that, Tanya. I don't know about everybody else, but I was getting goosebumps when you were talking about opening ceremony and flag, and I know a lot of athletes and all of us like have that amazing feeling when we see people representing the country. And I think one thing also that stuck with me, what you mentioned, is your visionary father. At the end of the day, you need support of your parents, and throughout for any athlete, or even a lot of the people here listening to this webinar are ones who want to get into sports management. It's a field that also needs support, from your parents, because it's not the normal path. But again, thank you for sharing that journey. Taruka, I'm going to jump to you. Firstly, congratulations on being a athlete and the amazing journey. Tell us a little bit about the 2010 Asian Games and your experience there.
So very similar story like Neha. I was brought up again by a single mother. And for the first 9 years of my life, she's a gymnastics coach. So I get my sports from there. So the first 9 years of my life, I lived in a city called Gorakhpur, which was a very interior city in UP. Now, obviously, it has come up, and I had no idea that other sports existed apart from tennis and cricket and volleyball, and absolutely zero idea, and wrestling. So we moved to Lucknow when I was 10 years old, going to 10 years old, and then I still used to do gymnastics, but I was very fascinated by tennis. So I took that up, but it wasn't easy. Like how Neha has faced, nobody from her family played any sport. Same in mine. But the good thing is my mom was there to encourage me. She instilled in me that discipline and confidence. I think so that was very important for me. That sort of pushed me because there was no proper infrastructure in UP at that time. Now, obviously, we're going to host a Davis Cup this month. But there was absolutely nothing, no proper coach, no coaching, no structure in general, which would tell you, educate you on how you could move upwards. So for me, it was a difficult journey. But 2010 Asian Games was, culminating point where obviously I felt very proud. And I remember I was 18 then. And, in a packed stadium, on the opening ceremony, I remember I was, I think, the tiniest of all the athletes. My sari was Mary Kom was the one who draped my sari because I had no idea how to do it. And they all I went, and obviously it was just very overwhelming, to carry your Indian flag. And I remember that time our flag bearer was Gagan Narang sir, and we've stayed in touch since then. And it was just very overwhelming to represent your country at such a big stage is next level. And like you said, you get goosebumps. I still get goosebumps hearing about others' journey and my own journey when I think of it. That it sounds surreal because to have been from where I was, I know that where I started my journey from and to where I reached. I think when I look back, it's I feel very proud of myself and everybody around me, my mom, etc., who pushed me to do that, instilled in me that discipline and confidence, and encouraged me. And obviously there were a lot of times, there were a lot of obstacles, and they will keep coming in everyone's life, not just mine, yours, everybody. I think it's just important to be disciplined and keep that dream alive and work towards your goal. Things will fall into places sooner or later.
Amazing. No, and appreciate you sharing that with us. And you're right. I mean, as an athlete, there's certain things, and I think Neha also touched upon it, where some things you don't anticipate or you can't predict, and it's also tough, as a young player. It's a very interesting but yet difficult journey, and finding the path and finding success on that is only few get there, right, in terms of to the epitome of sport. Terry, you've played a FIFA World Cup, and honestly, that's the first World Cup, 1994, that I followed fully. My parents allowed me to stay up late at night, and I obviously I became an Italy fan and a Baggio fan pretty much because of that World Cup. But football has for me personally, that's the World Cup that changed my thought process towards sport. You've had a fantastic journey as an athlete, spanning a couple of decades, played with the biggest of clubs. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we can move on to the other side of things.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in and obviously listening to me. I get goosebumps. Hello?
You're back. No worries.
Yeah. I think the electricity just went off there.
It's all good. So... Tech issues are normal. So
no worries. So listen, no, I get goosebumps now listening to the two ladies there talking about their journeys, which is fantastic. I think any journey you pursue, you've got to put your best to it, and you've got to get yourself in a system. When I was a young boy, my mother brought 5 of us up on her own. She worked 2 or 3 jobs, Manchester, England, a place called Salford, which is a city within a city, not far from Old Trafford, I'm sorry to say. Listen, I was.
I assume electricity is going in and out, but he will be back. It's not just me, is it? Okay, cool. We'll give it 30 seconds. If not, then I'll throw a question at either of you, Neha or Taruka. I usually worry that it's me because I'm based in Goa and the internet here is always choppy, but I'm glad it's not.
Well, you're at the right place.
Fair enough. So we'll come back to Terry as soon as oh, you're back?
I'm back.
Okay, go for it. Go for it. No worries.
Hold it. Let me get it all sorted out for you.
Yeah, but I think you're lying down at the moment.
Yeah.
No.
How are we there? Hello?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
I'll go there.
Excellent.
Anyway. Yeah, so sorry about that. I don't know what's actually happening there. But no, I think talking to the ladies there, I grew up in a place called Salford within Manchester. Obviously started playing on the streets of Salford, the cobble streets, knocking a ball against the wall. You know, we call it street football nowadays. You know, there's not enough street football. So, and just playing for my local little teams and my school teams and dribbling a ball to school. You know, I had a ball all the time. You know, there wasn't a lot we had little bits. We had bikes, we had, you know, skateboards. But I think for me, it was falling in love with a football, this round ball, what was going to catapult me somewhere. We talk about World Cups, we talk about FA Cup finals. I first watched my FA Cup final in 1976, believe it or not. I'm 56 years of age now, so that tells you how young I was then. But football was a life. It was a love. It was a journey. And for me, watching the 76 FA Cup final, you know, dreams do come true. And the 2 ladies will say the same thing. You know, watching that cup final, Manchester United against Southampton, Manchester United got beat 1-0. I was wearing a City shirt, believe it or not. When we went back out in the streets, I was the only one wearing a Man City shirt against Manchester United shirt. So, you know, we was all friends, but it was whoever had a football, you played football, and that was it. We did other things. We did skipping, we did running, we did jumping, we did all the wonderful things we did back in them days. And then after that, I thought to myself, this is brilliant. This game is absolutely wonderful. I just watched TV. 78 World Cup was in Argentina. I don't know if anybody remembers the 78 World Cup, Argentina. And I thought to myself, wow, this is absolutely electrifying. My word, I just love to be there one day. And, you know, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here for you. So, you know, I'm not going to take too much time up. You know, 1988, I joined Wimbledon from Swansea in 87. A year later, I was playing in the 1988 FA Cup final. Now, remember, I was watching the 76 FA Cup final. We actually beat Liverpool 1-0. We played in front of 100,000 people. I was 21 years of age. Before that, I was at Leeds United. I left home at 12 years of age. You know, I left all my friends, like the ladies were saying. I left my family. I went to school. I really didn't enjoy it. I lived with a family. You know, I broke into the Leeds youth team, the reserve team, and I broke into the first team at, 17 years of age. But then I got released from Leeds, and you think to yourself, your world's going to collapse. You know, and the pressure's on you. I've got no job, because it was a job. I've got no money as it is, and I'm going back to my mum's house. I didn't even tell my mother that I'd been released. I said I'm on an extended holiday until I got another club. And I went to Swansea, and then I got transferred. After a year, I got transferred to Wimbledon. A year later, 1988, I win the FA Cup final in front of 100,000 people. I was 21 years of age. Now, don't forget, I got released because they said I was too small to play football, off a manager who was smaller than me, to tell you the truth, Billy Brenner. But I had a dream, and my dreams come true. Fast forward again, obviously, I went from Wimbledon to Manchester City for a world record of £2.5 million for a fullback. Again, don't forget, I got released from Leeds United. And it was all about proving people wrong and proving to myself that I was in this system. I had a system for myself. I had a dream. I worked hard. I never give up. My commitment, focus, desire, and attitude of mine was fantastic. And then obviously broke into the Ireland team. And what was next? I ended up playing in the '94 World Cup. So, in front of, again, 100,000 people, USA, against the favourites was Italy then, who went to the final. And the girls say about goose pimples. I have goose pimples all the time. And if you ever watch a video, we beat Italy 1-0. If you watch a video, you'll see my face. It was like I was in a dream. Somebody's going to wake me up. My mum's going to throw some water on me, wake me up and get me going to school. That's how near to the dream it was, honestly. And it was fantastic. And, these big sporting events is always brilliant to watch, whether it's the Olympics, whether it's the European Championships. I love sports. I was a great runner. I used to love long distance, middle distance running. I used to, eat that up for my lunch. So for me, I think it's just keeping them dreams alive. And even now we have dreams. But yeah, I think that's a little short part of where I've come from and how I got to play the '94 World Cup was playing for Ireland. My mother was Irish, and it was just a dream come true to pull that green shirt on. And actually I did in 1994. And we won the game 1-0. So, it wasn't too bad.
No, it's absolutely fascinating and amazing to hear it from you directly. And what a journey. And I think you said it, right? You had a dream. And I think as athletes and as players, I think that's key, where you continue to just go at it, right? People will probably say no. People will probably tell you can't, but you go for it, and things happen. And it's amazing to see that. I mean, all three of you are now, it's also tough, right, to segue from being an athlete, being on the field, to kind of moving to the professional side, right? But at the end of the day, you obviously, I'm guessing, think back of the time that you continue to go for it, and that's what kind of takes you ahead. Terry, I'm going to throw a follow-up question at you. You've been in India now for almost a decade. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, talking about, and you've commentated and spoken about, and you've been part of some of the biggest games here. Tell us, one is, how did you get here? Like, did it happen by chance? Tell us a little bit about that story, and a little bit about the work you've been doing in India, promoting football.
Well, I always said to myself, I love traveling. I want to travel around the world. I want to give something back to football, obviously. And, I started my journey playing in America and then coaching in America way back in 2002. I was playing in Charleston Battery. And then a Kiwi lad from New Zealand was in the team. And he said, would you ever fancy coming to New Zealand? So I said, yeah, maybe one day. So 4 years later, I set a business up in America and I started coaching. And then 4 years later, I ended up in New Zealand, stayed there for 6 years, playing a little bit, coaching, managing a little bit, and the youth development. And I just fell in love with it. I just fell in love with helping people and, trying to get people to the next level. And I say people because we're only people, and sharing that dream with them and just giving my energy back to boys and girls who could get to the next level, and giving them the opportunity to maybe play in America in the college game or the professional game. And then one day I get a phone call from a group. Obviously, Neil. Neil was part of that group. He said, Terry, would you like to come to India? And I thought, well, why not then? I love a challenge. And I ended up coming to Sesa Football Club in Goa, residential academy, which was great. And I'm not going to beat around the bush here. It was difficult. I had difficult moments. I really did have difficult moments. It wasn't trying to change things. It was trying to, improve the way of thinking, psychologically, the way the coaches and that was in 2010, the way coaches went about their business. Did they have a system? Did they have their own system? When I say their own system, did they have a system with their coaches, the players, the staff around? And I didn't really see that. They were sort of like individuals, you know, and I tried to bring the network together and work with them. And it was difficult. It was difficult to improve the minds, to improve the way of thinking, and get the players to think outside the box a little bit and challenge everybody. And this is what I tried to do. And, you know, and it was fantastic, really. You know, I really enjoyed it. And then, you know, after 2 years, I thought to myself, is it really working? Is it not really working? And I decided to go back to the UK again for a couple of years. And then I got another call, and it was great at Say So. I got another call to come out for the Kerala Blasters. Trevor Morgan, who was part of the Kerala Blasters staff, he said, Terry, listen, we'd love to have you. I was the technical director running all the programs. I said, yeah, no problem. That was 2014-15. David James was out there this time. And that's when the ISL really started kicking off, and it really started getting all the foreign stars in, you know, Roberto Carlos and Freddie Lundberg and Perez and, you know, all them type of players, world-class players in the day. And, you know, I really enjoyed it. And I thought to myself, listen, let me have another go of it. Like I said before, I like a challenge. I was never going to give up. Remember when I got released from Leeds, I was never going to give up. And, you know, I said to myself, let me give something back. Now, we know the landscape is different cultures. And I'm on about not cultures where we're going Indian, Irish, American. I'm on about footballing cultures. Now, you've got some of the biggest hotbeds in India, Calcutta, Northeast, Goa, Kerala, Karnataka. These are hotbeds of football. And I've seen that. And I get goose pimples now. I've seen wonderful, talented players, but something along the way just is missed out. Something's missed out with them. And maybe we've got to find that. And anyway, so I was at the Kerala Blasters for 4 years. Obviously coached the first team for a month as the interim manager, which was absolutely fantastic. 60, 70,000 Keralites in the stadium was absolutely brilliant. And, you know, and then he ended up Bangalore, South United Football Club in Bangalore as the technical director, implementing obviously the technical side of it, coach education, player education, setting a system up, you know, working with the students, working with the first team, and working with obviously Mr. Sharon and Mr. Pranav. Mr. Pranav, the CEO, Mr. Sharon, the owner, and they built a fantastic infrastructure. And I thought to myself, yeah, again, I love the challenge, and they brought me on board. And yeah, this is where I am at this present time. I'm still there. I'm looking forward to going back into work on Monday because I've been kind of unwell. So yeah, I can't keep still. But no, it's been a fantastic journey, to tell you the truth. And I've really enjoyed the journey. I've met some wonderful athletes. I've met some wonderful people in the sports management business, owners, technical staff. And, you know, I'm still pushing to see if we can get it to the next level. What's the next level? Obviously, getting students and getting the players, you know, into them World Cup cycles, getting them into the World Cup teams. And I just don't mean the first team. I mean boys and girls, you know, getting them to them U15s, U17s, U18s, U20s, and so on and so on. And if it doesn't happen, getting them one step closer to playing for a school or playing for a district or playing for the state. That's even a goal, or even getting them playing in the first team. So there's multiple challenges, but there's multiple verticals where we can get the students or players into.
Terry, we need your energy and we need people like you to be in the system. So please don't go anywhere if anybody does call you from other countries, because at the end of the day, your experience and the time that you've had in the clubs that you've played, as well as played in a senior World Cup, you're able to drive that energy, you know, in the youth, and we see it. I mean, we can feel it with the passion that you speak. So again, thank you for the time that you've spent. I'm going to jump to Neha and riding on a little bit about what Terry said, right? Giving back to the athletes and being able to help players, right? And so Neha, as the head of partnerships and communication at Olympic Gold Quest, Tell us a little bit about that role. Also tell us, I mean, how an NGO in this space can really develop the sports industry here in India.
Yeah, so when we were growing up back in say late 90s, early 2000s, I think there and it still does, but there is a huge gap between really what the facilities that the system provides and what the athletes need. Right. If I love saying this, right? If you ask somebody ki how in India how to become a doctor, how to become an engineer, right? You have the right process. You have a full pathway. Tell me, how do you become an Olympic champion? How do you become a world champion in your respective sport? There is no pathway in our country, and for me personally, that was a big challenge that I faced in my career. There was no mentorship, and I never worked with a nutritionist. I never worked with a psychologist. I got a fitness trainer only in the fag end of my career, and my coach was everything for me. And then when we would go out and compete at the Asian Games level, the Olympic level, the World Championship level, right? It's not a level playing field, right? There you're saying the others get the best in the business. So to me, that was a pricking point. And I am a relentless India believer. To me, it's not just like table tennis, my sport. I just feel that our country is so rich, and but our athletes don't get the right support that is needed. Of course, the government has done fantastic job in the last 5-6 years, but the OGQ is what we do, is what I just described, right? That we bridge that gap. We ensure that our athletes have the best coaches, be it in India or abroad. We have the best training facilities, the equipment, the physios, nutritionists, fitness trainers, mental trainers, all that our athletes need in the back end to ensure that they train well and from the right age is what we do. And in this effort, we collaborate very strongly with the government as well. So I'm so happy to say that now the system is really getting stronger, right? At the psi level, the top scheme, right? There is no dearth of funding, and with the right people coming into the system, I think the priority sports that India has in its plan towards the 2024, 2028, and 32 Olympics, we are really on the right path. So that's what we do at OGQ. And in my particular role, since we are a not-for-profit foundation, we raise funds from three sources, which is number one is from corporates through CSR. The second is through individuals, and the third is through family foundations. And I lead all our fundraising efforts since the last 6 years at OGQ.
Amazing.
Um, and it's a fantastic role for me because I get to meet a lot of people who don't understand sport, and it's nice to firstly understand, get more people from the private and the corporate sector to come into the sports sector, get them to invest in sport, because hey, why not, right? I feel this is a golden period for Indian sport. And when a Neeraj Chopra steps on the podium, right, where a PV Sindhu steps on the podium, and when we play the Jana Gana Mana is played and the national flag goes up, right, we all feel proud that an Indian has won a medal. But what have we done in order to help and support our athletes, right? Tell me what has been your journey, what has been your contribution. So I feel we're doing so fantastic as a country in terms of the economy, our GDP, in terms of the startup economy, the entrepreneurship, all of that. And then why not sport, right? So as a society together, for me, it's fantastic to meet people, to get them to know sport, to get them to contribute to sport, and then make them also part of the journey of our Indian athletes, right? Then tomorrow, next year, less than a year to go to Paris 2024, and when we win medals, right, we should all feel proud. So it's a unique role where I get to meet folks from the corporate side, and of course, we're currently supporting 342 athletes in 9 individual Olympic and Paralympic sports, and each of these athletes have just fantastic inspirational stories. So it's very humbling to also give back to sport. We support 5 table tennis is my sport is not a priority sport. We support 5 in Olympics and 2 in Paralympics, and it's just fantastic to see that now, because the system is getting better, our athletes have the belief. Because when I went to Beijing, that day on court, I did not really, if you ask me deep down, I did not have the belief that I'll win. And belief comes from solid preparation. It doesn't come from Arup telling Taruka ki nahi, believe karo, tum jeet jaoge. That's not how it works, right? Belief comes from solid preparation, when you know you've put in the right amount of effort, the right hours, and smart work, and you know that you have a team with you. And for me, it's so nice to now see that when our Indian athletes step on the court in the stadium, they go as champions, right? The 14, 15, 16 years olds are now really having that belief. So at OGQ, I feel very privileged to be giving back to, of course, sport, and all of us share that same dream to see India win medals and win consistently, and then just grow, because there is no dearth of talent in our country. It's just that we need to structure everything together, and that's what, along with the right folks in the ecosystem, the right stakeholders, we're all coming together and trying to help improve that structure.
Neha, coming from an Olympian, and the positivity that you have for us as a nation gives like so much. It's fantastic, and coming from you, because you've, like, at that young age, right, at 18, you've represented the country at the biggest stage, and you know what it takes, and you know or what it doesn't also take, right, and what you need for athletes. So again, kudos to you and the team at OGQ, and the work that you all are doing. I mean, it's really fantastic, and we need, again, more and more organizations like this who are able to understand the larger picture, understand what is required from each of the stakeholders, but at the same time figure out the most important people are the athletes, right? The most important ones are the ones who are actually representing the country, and kind of telling the right story to the right stakeholders. No, appreciate all the work that all of you are doing. Fantastic stuff, and great to hear. And I think even Terry will he'll obviously agree with you in terms of the preparation, and the fact that, I mean, playing in a World Cup and beating one of the top teams is obviously came with preparation, right? It didn't happen by fluke. It didn't happen by chance. You know, it comes only when you know that you're ready to be able to do that and believe. Yeah, but there's a lot of preparation that comes to it. Taruka, I'm gonna jump to you. You've had an envious journey for the most part. You worked with the Hockey World Cup, FIFA Under-17 World Cup, with brands like Manchester United, and of course now have your own media company. Tell us, I mean, one is maybe how you decided to jump into the sports startup world from a media point of view, and maybe a little bit about the journey until then.
Sure. So I'll tell you, it wasn't like a very smooth journey. People think it's fancy, etc. I was rejected a lot when I was in the UK. I used to live right next to Sheffield United Club. I mean, you can see the stadium right out of my window. I used to like wake up and it was just right there. So obviously my first choice was to apply at Sheffield United. I applied there. Sheffield Wednesday, I'd already worked because our teacher was the media manager for it. So I was like, I have a good, and I had a good background because I'd already worked with Times of India as an intern and previous experiences. I was very sure that I will get it. So, so I had applied for a few positions, work experiences, etc. at Manchester United, etc. So in the morning, I got rejected by, I got a rejection mail from Sheffield United. That's like, this is like not good. I mean, why did they do it? Like, it's just right there, so convenient, etc. And in the very same evening, I was accepted by Manchester United. And the mail came to me from Richard Arnold, who asked me to meet this certain guy. And Richard Arnold, if you guys don't know, he's now the CEO of the club. He was then the managing director. He's now the CEO of Manchester United. He did not know me, nothing. It was just one email, and that sort of helped me change my life. But there, because it gave me that confidence, because you are in the UK, away from your country, away from your family, friends. The focus is you have to work and you have to pay your bills, etc. So it was very important. So I mean, I keep telling him again and again whenever I'm speaking with Richard that how he changed my life. So it was that, and that also, once you have Manchester United on your resume, it really helps. I interviewed Wayne Rooney, I interviewed the entire team, and learned so much, while being there. The team is so diverse, people from all backgrounds, all countries. So I didn't feel like an alien with my accent and my ethnicity, etc. Everyone at the club was very, very good, very, very helpful. And I picked up some really, really good lessons, contacts, everything. It was a full package. I was prepared well to go out in the real world and do something of my own. So I worked, I worked with FIFA Under 17 World Cup, went back again to the UK, worked with few media houses there, iSport Connect, I still write for them. Then I wrote for various, my forte was sports business. I wanted to stick to that. So I wrote for Forbes, World Economic Forum. And then in the past 6 years, I worked very closely with the government. First 3 years with the Orissa government, and where I actually got to know how it works within the government, the sports. And just to tell you, sports is considered as a shunted department in many states, not a good department. Like when you want to shun someone out, you send them to the sports department. Thankfully, Odisha has changed that. And I was very, very lucky to learn firsthand. I worked directly with Vishal sir and Vinit sir. And the state in its entirety, Honorable CM Mr. Naveen Patnaik also has that vision. So it sort of really helped me learn the lesson, because government was a very, very new field for me. And I learned all about the PPP model, private partnership model, and how both like government, individuals, organizations can work in sync to promote sports, to bolster the sports infrastructure in the states, etc. Same, when I came back to UP, we did the same, very similar thing. We are still on it. So here, obviously, because this is my Karam Bhumi, Janam Bhumi, UP, and now, all the athletes of my state, I'm very proud to say, whatever, if they want to know about policy, they want to know about schemes, jobs, etc., they come to me. I am very well versed with the state, so I know the drawbacks, etc. Someone in my position, what one can do is keep pushing, and I do that. So media, because parallelly, I've always had a media background, and I thought that it is lacking, like an expertise, etc. in this sports segment, sports vertical was lacking. So I decided to open my own media house. We partnered with World Football Summit. We're working with MotoGP this month. We worked with ITF on media communications part. So because there was nobody doing it, I thought, why not like start something of my own, get people with that expertise to do it, because people who were already doing it had no idea about it. And, and especially when you work in the government setup and you're a woman and sort of smart one, and then there's it's not really, because I'm still questioned about my abilities. I've worked for more than a decade now. I've played for more than a decade. So combined experiences, like all my life, what I've done is sports. So so there are like daily challenges I have to overcome, all this. But my thing was, I want to start something of my own where I can take control of everything. And thankfully, A lot of amazing people, I've met in my life, and they've really been helpful, very supportive, and are helping me in my endeavor. And I'm very confident, and just taking baby steps. I want to do something which I'm really, really sure I can deliver well on. So that is the industry.
No, amazing, and you're definitely one of those trailblazers who's able to have the confidence to go out there on your own, and I've seen it. I mean, since the time, say, we worked together in the under 17, that's more than 5 years ago, and then of course we've interacted at the time when you were in Odisha, and it's your energy it surprises some of the government people, I think, sometimes, and that's awesome. I'm going to throw a follow-up question at you, Taruka. You mentioned public-private partnerships, right? And we see that a lot now, and we're seeing governments and of course Neha's also I mean, understands and knows and is in touch with a lot of stakeholders. But at this particular point, given all of what is happening, the investment in infrastructure and things like that, I want to ask you a question more on the employability side. Like, how do you see that changing from a sports perspective? Are the right people coming into the system? Again, a little bit about like the sports business employability side of this, when it includes kind of the government as well as the private players. How is that? How have you seen it? What's your perspective on that?
It's very good, because if a state, the intention is to do good in sports, like in Odisha and UP, they will hire expertise. So, the PMUs are created, project management units, sports specific. So all your big fours, etc., now have a dedicated sports vertical. PwC, EY, Deloitte, etc. They're there. When I was in Odisha, there were few companies, and even in UP right now. So I think the opportunities are huge. It's just a person needs to have patience to work, because government working is very, very different than how corporate works. You have to align with lot of things, like the political agendas, the policies, the etc. So it is going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. The expectations are different, and you might, sometimes might want to beat your head because you're trying to explain something because you worked in the sports industry, and the other person very rigid because that is what they've done all their life. See, it is not everybody can be flexible. I think, so it is that. And but employability wise, lot of scope improving, because government need expertise to work on. Now, if they're spending money, and they're spending a lot of money, so they need more, manpower, expertise to help them deliver projects. Because at the end of the day, like the vision is always to accelerate the pace of what's happening within the state in sports. So it's a good opportunity. Now is the right time, I would say. In the past 6-7 years, it has really, really improved. So good time to be part of the sports business industry, because there are a lot of opportunities within the government. In Goa, we have the national games coming up, etc. So they are hiring. Northeast people are hiring. Tamil Nadu people are hiring. My former boss, he's just retired. He was additional chief secretary, 1988, batch Mr. Naveen Sehgal. Before that, Vishal sir is also an IAS officer. My boss's batchmate is also sports secretary in Tamil Nadu. So these people are dynamic people. Also, the leadership matters a lot. If the person at the helm is like ready to take risk, is flexible, it gets really good. I mean, then you can create wonders. You can really, really improve the standard of sports in that particular state.
Amazing. Thanks for that input. We're just over halfway from a time perspective. So I just wanted to throw that into all the listeners. Apart from all the value that you're getting from our wonderful panelists, I have some freebies for you as long as you stay till the end. So stick around for the next half. Neha, and this is, I think, just riding on the question that I asked Taruka. With all of what is happening, right, from a government point of view, and all the events, all the infrastructure development, and of course you're now seeing both sides, right? The professional side, as well as you've been an athlete. How does the professionalism of the field impact the performance on. And tell us a little bit about that kind of perspective. Do they go hand in hand? Again, I'd love for you to just throw some light on that.
Oh my God, like this is a no-brainer. I mean, of course, right? If you are in a good school, you will churn out good students, right? As simple as that. If the system is right, off the field, on the field, you will see performances coming in, right? Like very simple example, our beloved sport of cricket, right? What changed? Right? It is the manner in which BCCI worked, right? With football, with hockey India, right? These are the three sports where the management has been absolute top notch and the
True.
best. So it is a no-brainer that whatever work that happens behind the field in terms of management of athletes, it obviously represents well on the performance of our athletes, right? See, as a country, what we can do is to ensure that the planning is right, the funding is going towards the right athlete and at the right time and at various levels. So, as a country, if we need to start winning medals consistently at the Olympic level, we can't just work at the elite level, or we can't just work at the grassroots level,
Yeah.
right? But now what you're seeing is, say, with the government's Khelo India scheme, right? There's a lot of grassroots work happening. At the same time, I feel there's a huge gap in between the grassroots and the in the middle level, because say when you're in your 10th standard, 11th standard, every single kid will still need to answer that question: ki, shall I continue sport or not, right? Or is it education? So I think we're still, that piece is missing. But at the grassroots and the elite level, the work that is happening is fantastic, and there are huge opportunities to now work in sport, because we need, like Taruka mentioned, we need the right people to manage off the field work for our athletes, right? Let me give you an example. I worked at the United States Olympic Committee for four months after I graduated from Columbia University. If anyone knows how much funding does the US federal government gives to the United States Olympic Committee? Anyone? It's zero, because the USOC is a not for profit. It raises its own funding through private sponsorships, and it is one of the most, I would say, professionally well managed organizations I've ever seen, and also like corruption free. Okay, and you can obviously see it translate into results, for the US. Let's not compare ourselves to China at all. But the point I'm making is the professionalism. And why? Because you need the right people to be working and managing. So, the US industry is so intense. It's not just your passion for sport that counts, but you need to have the right knowledge in various aspects, in finance, in accounting, in sponsorships, in marketing, in long-term athlete development programs, in all of that. So I meet so many people who are just passionate about sport. But can you name our individual gold medalists from the last Olympics? They would not know. Right. So the point I'm making is that the work of the field that happens 100% translates into our athletes doing well, and we need the right people now to be managing that. And we really have a dearth of good smart folks in sport who understand not just you'll find people are understanding cricket, football, but if you talk about Olympic sports, very very few.
No, you're completely right. And I mean, as much as like you mentioned that there is a dearth, there is in fact, and at different levels. But funny enough, I think also what Taruka mentioned, there are that many jobs also available for people to get the experience to kind of be or get up to speed with really what's happening within the country. And of course, you now have multiple programs in India as well. But I'll jump into the sports management education side a little bit towards the end. But riding on a little bit of what you said about the US, right? I spent some time there as well, and the culture there is built on sport. It's beautifully entwined in everything that they do. And I think you mentioned right in the beginning about pathway in India, right, where there is no real set pathway, where as in countries like the US and others who are well developed from a sporting side, you see the pathway. And obviously all of this has happened because there are people off the field who are building it so that the athletes on the field can really deliver, and you see the results. Terry, you've spent some time in different management areas and fields in the UK, and of course you've seen that culture, right? You've seen a culture of sport, you've seen a culture of giving athletes the right channels. If you draw parallel to India, what I don't want to load the question, but does India have an advantage in some shape or form, and are we kind of getting there in some way? You mentioned culture a little bit earlier when you're talking, but how can India really get to be like some of the other nations? And I know it's going to take a while. When I think about the US, the NCAA was formed in 1904, which is more than 120 years. But yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit about, just basis your experience outside India and here.
Well, I mean, the ladies was talking about obviously different countries, what they've worked in, which is fantastic. I think everybody should try and, think outside the box and do a little bit of traveling if you can and get that exposure. And I say exposure. Obviously, if working in the United States of America, if you look at the school system in the United States of America, you look at elementary school, middle school, high school, and then the college sector. You've got pathways all the way through, and the American system is all geared to, can we get our children a scholarship, whether that's an athletic scholarship or an education scholarship, half and half or the full scholarship, and they've been doing that for years and years and years and years and many years. It's a big ask. If you look at people like Japan, what Japan are doing, they've took the concept of America, elementary school, middle school, high school, and then the college sector, where there's a good flow on effect, where there's a pathway for athletes, there's a pathway for young entrepreneurs and all. India at this present time has got a fantastic network of young entrepreneurs now who are really thinking outside the box, who really want to push the country forward, not just in the sporting sector, but in all different sectors within India. If you look at the young entrepreneur now, and I'm on about the private sector, they probably don't want to go abroad. They probably want to stay in their own country, learn about their own country, get that funds together and build infrastructures. And that's what they're doing. They're building infrastructures. If we talk about infrastructures in Europe and England, particularly, if you look at the EPL, I mean, and Spain and Italy, they're way ahead. You look at United States of America now. Messi's gone over there. Messi's generated $250 million since he's been there. He's only been there for about 6 weeks. So it just shows you, like you said, they've been there. But what can we do in India? The ladies have just said, there's young, bright entrepreneurs out there. There's different sectors everybody can work in to grow the game. And when I say grow the game, I just don't mean in football. I mean grow the game in all sports, but it has to start somewhere. If we can get it into the school systems, okay, and there's a pathway, and that opens doors for more opportunities for people who want to work in the sports sector. I think it's key. It's key to grow. It is started. If we go from top to bottom, we talk about the highest level in India, ISL. It's growing. The ISL is growing. Is it making a lot of money? Probably not. But is it growing? Yes. More teams are entering it now. You know, infrastructure is getting better. Sports science, medical care is getting better for the players. You know, players are now taking ownership on themselves. Whether you're a football player, an athlete, they're taking ownership on themselves to keep themselves fit. They've got sports management people around them. You know, they've got that nucleus of that cotton wool all around people. And I think if we grow the minds of these young athletes and really get into the minds of them psychologically, physically, technically, tactically, then India can go on and on. It has got infrastructures at the bottom. It is getting better. If we look at what the All Indian Football Federation are doing at this present time, you know, there's more tournaments, there's more mini leagues happening, you know, and I'm just saying about the football sector there. There's more leagues happening. There's more infrastructure getting built in the private sector by these young, bright entrepreneurs. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. Even I'm learning an awful lot of them. And that's what gives us hope. That's what gives us light. They are stepping outside the country. They are learning what they're doing in America, what they're doing in Europe, what they're doing in Australia, you know, and they're taking all these pieces and they're going to knit them together. And that's what I think we need to do, knit them together, find a common goal for ourselves. And I say ourselves in India because I'm in India, because I'm part of that ecosystem. Find a common goal where we can now start elaborating and what's the bigger picture? Yeah, we want to win medals at the Olympics. We want to win medals at championships. And I say medals, we want to put caps on students' heads. You know, I'm not about the little plastic medals, you know, at the bottom. That'll happen. But what about when they grow, when these students are growing in all different sports sectors? Where do we want them to go? We want them to represent the country, we want them to represent India at all different stages, whether it be table tennis, whether it be the Olympics, whether it be football, whether it be, you know, bowling, anything we can do to get them bigger and better. It takes a network, you know, and it takes people going outside, seeing what's going on out there, but not trying to be like, we're never going to be like England in the EPL. We're never going to be like that. We're never going to be a Manchester United. You know, saying that Kerala Blasters, the fan base is not too bad at the moment. But, you know, these are clubs which have got a rich and deep in culture. We need to build our own culture in the sports industry, which we're doing now with young entrepreneurs like the ladies who's on the show at this present time. Fantastic. Even I'm learning a lot listening to them and how we can get bigger and better. If you look at where I'm at the moment, South United Football Club, what they've built, what the owners have actually built in the middle of Bangalore is absolutely phenomenal. Different verticals within the club, you know, and it's a scope for the community to come in. You know, the community are coming in now. They're going, hang on a minute, this is what we need more of, and we need more of it for us to grow and get a little bit better. We are getting there. You know, different states, different organizations, associations, district associations, you know, the local clubs. If we can come together and sit round tables and digest where we're going, how we're going to do it, why we're doing it, and when we're going to do it. Obviously, the All Indian Football Federation have got a pathway at this present time, 2026. And I think 2047, that's the roadmap. And I think we need a roadmap. We need to, mind mapping. And I think if we do that with the young entrepreneurs, which is out there now, I think India's got a big chance. We've got the population. There's a million Lionel Messis. There's a million Ronaldos, you know, but it's actually finding these and nurturing them within the sports. And if we can do that and, you know, get the private sector in, get them pumping money into it and believing in where the money's going to, getting the best people in to deliver the best product. And I think if you do that, we've got a great chance of winning medals in all different sectors of the sports.
No, and completely agree with you. And I think everybody else listening in and Taruka and Neha as well, because it's it's needed, and I think there's a lot that India is going to offer over the coming decades, and it's actually a fantastic time to be here and see what all is happening. I'm going to go a little specific, Terry. What and just following up on what you just mentioned, how important do you think sports management education is for us in India to professionalize sport?
I think it's key, isn't it? I think we need that. If I go back, I'm listening to the girls there saying, back in their day, they didn't have a lot. Well, how do you think I felt back in my day? Who coached me? I coached myself on the streets. There was sports management then wasn't around. Sports science was around, but it wasn't really in the footballing sector. It was the coach taking everything. I learned on the streets. I think it's key. You look at the young entrepreneur now, they are coming from the sports management sector, in different roles. They're going into big clubs, they're setting their own businesses up in the sports industry. They are traveling abroad, they're coming back with new ideas, open ideas. I think it's key for the growth of sports, for the growth of the minds of the younger generation, which is going to come through. Not just thinking about the now, it's thinking about the future and all, and long term instead of short or medium term. We've got to look at long term. But yeah, I really do believe in it. And what we've built there at South United Football Club. We offer different verticals right through the club, and sports management for me is a key indicator that the country is growing, because now we have got these minds out there who have educated themselves, these young, fresh minds who are going, hang on a minute, we need to improve. I won't say change, but improve in different ways and how we do that.
No, appreciate the response there. Just to all our listeners, I mentioned freebies, and I'm sending you one of 3. I'm sending you. So we, as I mentioned earlier, this is actually episode 1 of this careers in sports management series that we're doing. Episode 2 will come in on 16th of September. That's another Saturday. I'm dropping, and again, these are free webinars. A lot of value you've already got. I've learned a lot in the last hour. So this is just the first freebie of 3. I'm throwing it in the chat. It's the registration link. You can keep that handy while we continue the conversation. Neha, you've spent time outside India. You've studied in the US, in New York, and even so I did my master's at NYU, and this was back in 2009 in sports business, and at that time I remember clearly doing the research in 2007 and 8 and saying, what could I study? Should I do like a regular MBA? And obviously I realized I wanted to focus on something that I'm passionate about, and I obviously thought India would be the right place to be, but realized there was nothing. There's not a single program in the country, and I envy one is those who are listening in, but others, the students today have so many opportunities. They have so many programs that are here in India, and all the international programs have come in and doing such good work. GISB, of course, partnered with UMass, Amherst, and so tell us a little bit about what you think in terms of the idea, your thought processes on whether it's a good idea or not. One is to travel outside the country and study, or at this particular point, you are very well ingrained in the business of sport here. Does it kind of make sense to hang around here based on from an employability point of view? Does it really matter? And when you're sitting on the other side of the desk, looking at candidates, does it make a difference that they've studied outside or not, whether they've actually studied sports management or not? Just maybe throw a little bit of light on that, and then I'll jump to Taruka with a follow-up question.
Sure. Oh, so it surely matters if you've studied sports management, right? Then the number one tick mark is your knowledge of sport is checked, right? So 100% it matters. And I echo what you're saying, that I envy the kids of these days, the opportunities that India alone has in sports management. So I retired in 2014 after the Asian Games, and I spent fag end of 2014 until early 2015 to just figure out ki where should I go, where should I study. Like you mentioned, I was confused. Should I do a MBA? Should I do a sports management? India had no course at all. How do I get into a course if I have to do within India? I just had a desire to, be a student in the US, because I had played a tournament in Stanford University. That was the World Championship back in 2007, and I was just really mesmerized by the infrastructure and things that they had there. So I always had in my mind that I want to go study abroad. But let me tell you, I really felt like an alien, in Colombia. One is, see, all I had done is I had played all my life, right? And then from there to just do such a rigorous course of 1 year sports management from an Ivy League institute, really it was one of the it was the best years of my life, but like a super tough year. And it depends where you are, but we read a lot about American sport back then. And when I came back to India, right, I really realized the relevance of the degree was there, but not too much, huh? Because at the end of the day it was my ability,
Right.
right? If I had done MBA from an Indian college also, I would have learned all the very different courses, and I had the passion for sport, right? I would have still been employable, right? Of course, the experience at Columbia was just absolutely fantastic. I learned so much, I've met so many people. Networking was just amazing, but it was also very expensive. So I used all my savings, all the prize money and the money that I'd earned from being an athlete into that. And when I came back to India, I had to learn everything about sports management from an Indian perspective.
Hmm.
So my point is that if you have the money, if you have the time, go do do your find the right international institute that you want to. But if you really want to work in India, I think there are a lot of good colleges now.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, you have to pay your tuition fee. You have to figure that out as well. And if you are smart, you know your sport, and you can learn the nuances that go around it. I think institutes that are there now in India are also giving really good opportunities. And like you mentioned, Arup, right? The international institutes are coming into India and giving that sort of valuable lessons, and doing internships which are from outside. I remember when the ELMS Sports Foundation launched its very first program, I did the online course, and that was fantastic. I mean, it was online, and they got professors from outside. It was very similar to how I studied at Columbia, and that experience itself was great sitting in India, right? So to me, and many people now ask me, should we go to the US or should we go to UK? My first thing is, look, if you want to work internationally, okay, right, then think about going abroad. But really, if you want to work in India, and you want to make a career here, do the networking here, learn about Indian sport from an Indian perspective. And if you're smart, you know your finance, you know your marketing bit, you know what media rights, how that works, you know ticket sales, right, you know communication, you know partnerships, you will find the right role. There is really no need to be outside. Not discounting, I had a great experience. But if I were retiring as an athlete today, I would probably, work for some time in sports management, get that experience, then go to an institute, then understand what is my interest level, what is it that I do well, and try to get into inroads in the Indian market.
No, I'd have to kind of agree with you, agree with you there. It is, um, I mean, the opportunity that lies here currently, it makes so much more sense. And you said, like, I mean, in terms of the expenses, in of course, experience, sure, you'll get that. But at the end of the day, it's about your ability, right? And if you're able to have the right energy and drive, and you're with the right motive, it doesn't really matter, right? At the end of the day, you're going to build a network if you're and you're going to learn as much as possible wherever you are. So
When we are hiring folks also, right? Of course, education matters a lot in your resume, but what also matters is where you've worked, the sort of
yep.
organizations. Even if we're hiring, at at a deputy manager level, right? So an entry level. Uh, and if you've entered at good institutes, you've studied from the right institutes, your resume will be at the top, and then it all boils down into your interview, your ability, right? Because people who are hiring are smart, they will judge you in the first 10-15 minutes. So your ability then comes in, the open the moment you open your mouth. So at the end of the day, it's also fitting then into the right culture of the organization that you're applying to, and knowing the people within the organization, and a lot about networking within the sports industry.
Yeah, and you're so right. We run I run a sports fellowship program as part of sportscourses.com, and I tell, and it's a part-time program, right? But I tell all the folks who get in, I say, you guys are so lucky at this particular point, when even if you're studying, or even while you have a job, if you're a young professional, there are so many volunteer opportunities, so many small things that you can do on the weekend, and which I realized 10 years ago didn't actually exist. Because right now there are so many, I mean, people want help. There's, and also on the content side of things, right? Now with social media, people need the additional kind of helping hands, and they want I mean, younger folks to come in, and because they're the ones who understand, they're the next generation, right?
So,
So
sorry to, but I'll give you an
no,
example.
go ahead.
I've been trying to hire a right person in communication who can be a good designer and also know Olympic sport. I've not been able to find the right combination, right? If you everybody can do cricket, football, but Olympic sport, good in writing, good in design, such a hard person to find. And what are the kids doing? Like, why isn't that knowledge there? It boggles me. So like you rightly said, like, people are there to hire. There are a lot of opportunities if you can fit the bill right.
Yeah, totally. Taruka, before I jump at you, all those who are listening, here comes freebie number 2. Since I mean, marketing is my specialty. There's something called the one-page sports marketing plan that I've put together. It's a freebie to download. So yeah, I'm dropping the link right in the chat. Taruka, and yes, we do have one more freebie coming, so please stay till the end. We have about 10 odd minutes, and we will take questions. You can throw questions into the Q&A side of things, and I'll throw them at our speakers. Taruka, yeah, I mean, since we're talking about sports management education, tell us, I know we kind of touched upon it a little bit from an employability side, but specifically, like, say, with the governments and all these other organizations, I mean, these public private partnerships that are happening, is it really important from the employer's perspective there to have a sports management degree, or is it a must have, good to have? just based on your experience, and of course, you can tell us a little bit about your experience also studying outside and your perspective there.
Yes, I think it's very, very important because, sometimes even in big consultancy firms, a lot of people move into the sports consultancy from other verticals and they don't have that sports degree. So there is a gap in their understanding and an understanding on how a sports management student works. So for me, it happened, unlike Neha, who was very fascinated by Stanford. I went to Europe and I cried after 15 days. Like, I want to go back to my country. I can't stay. And I was 17 also, alone, training, etc. I was like, no, I want to go back. So I went, I cut short that month's program to 15 days. And then obviously once it was by chance because I was in Xavier's Mumbai and I was doing my bachelor's in political science, my final year majors was in political science. And I was very fascinated by it. I had done internships in sports with Sports Kira and Times of India and sports, etc., the sports desk. But Millet hired me. Millet sir was that time, he was the IT minister, etc. I was very fascinated. And my political teacher was just amazing. I was like, my next career entry is going to be political consultancy or whatever. So it was there. And then my counselor and my godfather, he sat me down and was like, do you really want to do this? Or it is just because you're finding it fascinating? Because right now you're working with union minister and there's a lot of buzz around him, etc. Can that be a reason, etc.? So I really sat down and luckily, there's this ad about Great India scholarships from the British Council. And I just applied for that. I had no idea, did a bit of research. See, there are no scholarships oriented towards sports person also. That's also one drawback. All your scheduling, etc. Very rarely, maybe now that at least they started looking at, but you see in their, categories, sab kuch hoga, art, music, this, but not sports. Very rarely. So finally, I got that scholarship. If I hadn't got that scholarship, I wouldn't have gone. It was too expensive. I'd already put a lot of financial pressure on my mother. Tennis is a very, very expensive sport and she's single, a government servant. So I didn't want to put that pressure. But then when I got the scholarship, I discussed with my mom. It's like, it's fine, you go. And then I figured it out. And before even moving to the UK, I'd already figured out part-time jobs. So I'd spoken with other people. I was like, will I get jobs after going there? I mean, I want to enter and get the job in first week so that my expenses, etc., don't go beyond it. Even though I had the scholarship, but living expenses, etc., they did give something. But I wanted to be very sure because in my mind I was like, no financial pressure I want on myself or my mother. So I went there and thankfully, once you go there, there were a lot of other scholarships as well by the university and I got one of those. So it sort of was smooth because a lot of people I know who've gone to do sports management have taken huge student loans and they're still repaying it. So it's a lot of finance and I did not want that. So I was very sure. But obviously, like Neha said, I had great experiences, met amazing, amazing people who still, are in touch with me, etc. But yes, if I were to do the same course here, for example, GISP has a great partnership with UMass. It's almost the same, except when you step out of the institute, the everything else is different, but it's the courses, the learning is same, and you have to adapt also. Like Neha said, it's very important to adapt to how you. For example, sponsorship, I was good at, but not very good at something. So, but in the past 1 year, because my boss was also is also president UP Badminton Association, I raised 50 lakh plus funding for across tournaments in the past 1 year. And then I was just sitting down and just, calculating. I was like, not bad. In part, it is huge, at least for someone who's not done it before. This is something I learned on the job, etc. But obviously my skill set, my degree helped help me, learn how to tell the other person, because earlier Neha said, they do not know about कि स्पोर्ट्स में क्या अच्छा आप इतना महंगा क्यों रख रहे हैं ये स्लॉट, ऐसा क्या है यार. PV Sindhu is coming. We have this international tournament. For example, we have the Syed Modi international tournament. It's BWF 300 tournament, or your Lakshya Sen, Olympians, etc. Everybody. So that was a challenge, but thankfully, I was able to explain it to them, and this is all on my own. Normally, what happens, my boss can always step in. He's a bureaucrat, etc., and people sort of give in, but. Nothing, never required his help. I just sort of, stepped in and figured this out. So you can learn here also in India, and this is actually the best time to be in India. So many tournaments, so many events are happening. Governments are taking very keen interest, which is great actually, and thanks to Odisha government for that, for being such a flag bearer for it. All these states are now focusing. Till 1 year back, UP hosted nothing. It was not on the map of sports. Now we've done ITF, we've done Khelo India University Games, we're doing Davis Cup, we're doing MotoGP, we've done wrestling, junior wrestling championship. So we are doing so much because of the intent which has come in. Somebody, like when I joined, my boss, even he is like very, very senior person. So I told him about this, what Odisha has done, etc. And we sort of replicated the same thing. Jobs are being, given out to a lot of people from the sports management background. I think an education degree is a must. And if you can get in India, nothing like it. Because in the NC, all are competitive markets. And let me tell you, even in the US or UK, it's very competitive. It's not necessary if you get out from a degree that you'll get a job, because they will always prefer their own people. And sports is not your very specific skill set that they cannot get it in the US or the UK or anywhere in the world. So you have to think a bit of long term. You have to consult with people, engage in conversations, people who've done it, who are doing it, etc. And then, make that decision, informed decision.
Awesome. No, appreciate the detailed answer, and that's awesome. I think you answered also a couple. There are a couple of questions that have come in about, what are the good courses? And I think you answered quite a bit of it directly there. Where at the end of the day, see, there are already, I would say, a double-digit number of courses in India. And good programs, and it's a matter of, I think people have to obviously do their own research, but also figure out really what works for them. What area do they want to focus on? And I think Neha also touched upon it. Like, if you do want to live outside India and not be part of the system here, sure, go out and do the program here. But if you do want to come back and contribute to the industry here, do the research, figure out which course is better for you in terms of what area you want to focus on, and also depending on what you're doing currently, right? If it's a part-time program, full-time, executive, and things like that. There's a question related to I-League and ISL, which maybe I'll leave that for another time, Terry. But I want to jump to Terry. Any piece of advice for those either currently studying in sports management in India, or those who want to do that? And it can be related to anything. From coming from you, everything that you've said so far has been of value. So just throw us your opinion.
No, I think getting back to what the ladies have turned around and says, get as much education as you can. Whether it be abroad or in India. And I reiterated it, and I said it earlier, you don't have to go abroad now. You can stay in India. There's fantastic universities, there's fantastic schools, there's fantastic courses where, that young entrepreneur can go to, they can deliver, mix, mingle, find where you are, find that space you want to be in, in the sports sector, and, listening to the ladies there, I think it's absolutely fantastic. They've come out of sports and they've gone in, they've studied, and they've gone back into it, and, they're still in it, and they're delivering to other clientele. And I think it's fantastic. Obviously for myself, it was football all the way along, and I stayed in football, I educated myself all the way right through football. But I think now you've got so many options. The younger folk of today have got so many options. Maybe they've got too many options, but they've got so many options in India now that, the world's their oyster, and do they have to go abroad? And this is what I said earlier, they don't have to spend that 30, 40 lakhs and go abroad. They can invest that in themselves in India. I'm speaking to young entrepreneurs now in this, the sports management sector, who are now building, these 6v6 fields all over the country. That's what they're doing now, obviously. But no, I think if you get the more educated you are, the more people you speak to, the more experienced people you talk to, the more events you can talk to, we're always open at South United Football Club for people to come in and have a look how our sporting sector is run with different verticals and self-sustainable at our club. It's absolutely fantastic. From toddlers up to the first team, we've grown a structure, and that's all boils down to the brainchild of the owner and the CEO. So I just think it's education and mixing with the right people and getting as much knowledge as you can.
Appreciate that, Terry. Any pieces of advice from you, Neha and Taruka? You can go in that order.
I think what worked for me was just hard work and hustling. That's the number
Hustling,
one.
I love that word. Yeah.
I was, like I said, I was an athlete. I had, and when you're an athlete, all you do is play sport. You have no idea about the business side of sport, the management side of sport. So I literally stopped one career and started a new career at the age of 25, and I was lost. But uh, I I think what I did well was just open to learning and talking to people, understanding, going to conferences, going to events, really trying to gain the knowledge that was needed at that time to find some sort of pathway. So I think number one is just hustle, right? Like if you're in that age group in your early mid 20s, just go for it. And second, I would also encourages get mentors, because many times you just don't know what path you must take. And if you can network well, you have folks in the industry whom can just guide you, at least from their perspective, right? What does it look like there? And now with institutes like GSB, right, like you have people coming in the sports industry who are actually professionals working, so they're going to give you the right and sane advice. I
Yeah.
think mentorship is again something that I never had in my career, post playing. So that was, if I had known ki okay, this is the right part to take, or that's how you should be interacting with somebody, it could have been much more better. So many things, but I would just say these two things, if you can get, you will find your right path into how to enter the sports industry, and in which company you want to do and at what levels.
No, appreciate that and completely agree. And Taruka, before you throw us your piece of advice, there's a question that's come from Sanat, and I mean, it's more or less answered by you, Neha, but it asks about what platforms are available for people to kind of find internships and find courses and things. And if you ask me, LinkedIn should be your go-to platform, because I see jobs on a daily basis, internships, small programs, and also the networking opportunity, right? And it's a free platform. My only one suggestion to folks there is, don't reach out to people and immediately ask for a job. Build a relationship. Ask them about their work. Ask them for 10 minutes of their time, because at the end of the day, everybody who's reached a particular point in their professional life has been helped at some level, and I'm very confident that everyone's willing to kind of take the time out and help, as long as you approach it in the right manner. So I think from that perspective, there are many opportunities online, and I think, Neha, like you mentioned, right, attend conferences, attend events, go out there and kind of look for what you can find. Taruka, yes, you're up.
I think you're right, Arup. The most important thing is I have been helped by a lot of people on every step. Like there's so many amazing people supporting me, and I think when I look back, it's just I want to do the same every time. There are a lot of friends who say, "Are you?" So I was like, lot of wherever I am, it's because somebody's helped me with this, somebody's helped me with that, or this or that. So I think it's amazing, and that is how you should be. You should always, try to learn from the other person. put yourself out there, challenge, don't run away from challenging situations, know that things will always get better, and try to learn a lot. Initially, when I did internships, I did it without payment. I worked with BBC with no pay, and then obviously I got as a production assistant position, and then I was started being paid. But all these things really help. So like they say, you can only connect the dot backwards. So everything, whatever you're going to learn, it will sort of pay you back. So you just be willing to learn, be smart, and don't run away from anything challenging. Just try to attend all these events, conferences, and figure out what all events are happening. For example, Davis, if you're from say UP or Delhi, if it's convenient for you to work at Davis Cup, reach out to me. Or MotoGP, etc. It's going to happen in September 22nd to 24th. We need volunteers. We're doing a research with Uni of Portsmouth. So we might need volunteers. So all these things might not be paid, but they'll give you really great experiences. So so that would be my advice. Just be willing.
Just be willing, and that's, I think that's the key. And coming from athletes, that's really, I guess you guys have shown the drive right from an early age, and at the same time kind of now progressed really far ahead in your professional careers. Kudos to all three of you, Taruka, Neha, Terry. It's fantastic to have people like you in the industry, and giving back, as well as building this industry in your respective sports and areas. Really appreciate the time that you've spent with us on a Saturday morning. I'm pretty sure there could have been other plans, but really appreciate the time that all three of you have given. And honestly, I've learned a lot. I know there's everybody listening in has massive takeaways, and hopefully we see each other on the field, and not online next time around. Yeah, that's it from our end. We're at a closing time. I don't want to go over. So appreciate all three of you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good luck to all.
Yes, and please reach out if you guys need any help or whatever.
Yeah, you can always reach out to me and all. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm always there to mentor and help people. Come down to Bangalore, see what we have at South United Football Club and all.
Super.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.